I have people that buy 100 pounds and I have people that buy 2,000 pounds. $55,000, it's not cheap. Bigger plants can maybe pull $30 to $50, 20 people in a day to 200 people. My name is Nick Billings. The business name is Bulldog Berries. We are a wholesale and U-pick blueberry farm. We also have some strawberry plants and Saskatoon berries as well. We bought the land in 2012. I did not go to college or get a degree in ag or anything for this. We got started because I'm from Houston, Texas, a little town outside of Houston called Magnolia. Grew up on some acreage and just kind of had a green thumb growing up. And we're looking for an area to get into fruit farming. One, I wanted to own my own business and have an opportunity to be a business owner. And two, hopefully something growing plants of some sort. I originally kind of started researching the idea and got some loans and grants through the state of Michigan. That's kind of how we ended up in northern Michigan. I was familiar with the area because my dad worked at a plant in Manistee when I was young. That's kind of how I knew about Traverse City, and one thing led to another, and that's how the land was purchased. We went into this knowing nothing about farming, first generation farmer, and just kind of have learned as we went.
Can you tell us about your day-to-day when you first started versus now?
So when we first started, kind of the idea was we were going to do commercial. We didn't really have much of a plan to do a U-pick business. It was in the back of my mind, but I didn't really want to be in the customer service business to start, to be honest. So when we first started, we planted actually this field right here. This is 6 acres. 6 varieties. Planted this field first, and that was right in the beginning. First season. We didn't probably do all the necessary field work if I could have gone back that I wish we would have. And so this was our learning curve field. As you see, these are high bush blueberry plants. They're 10 years old now. They should be substantially bigger than this. But when we started, we made some mistakes along the way, including nitrogen locking them with over-fertilizing with ammonium sulfate the first year, which kind of stunted my plants for 3 or 4 years and made me question what I was doing out here.
What type of equipment does a blueberry farm need to start?
I wish I had it here on site, but I don't anymore. There's this planter that we hook on the 3-point connection on the back of the tractor. You fill it with little young plants, bare root blueberry plants at the time, they were 6 to 12 inches. And one guy operates the tractor and 2 guys sit on the back of the planter, and it digs holes as you go, and someone just is hand putting each plant into the hole that the planter had made. So essentially it was a John Deere planter. This was our first tractor. This is my baby. This is E4720 John Deere. These are both diesel tractors. This is not a narrow tractor, but it has a front end loader and allows me to do some things around the farm as far as lifting, moving, digging, tilling. This thing is how we got the farm started. We got this one back then, probably 2013, and it was probably right around $45,000 or $50,000. They are a necessity to have if you're going to be anything more than a small 3 to 5 acre farm. And obviously it makes lifting things and such, as I'm not a big guy, a lot easier.
Where did you get the initial plants from?
We got them from a guy downstate who is a much larger blueberry farm. I have 30 acres, but in the grand scheme of Michigan blueberry farming, it's quite small. Those guys down there have hundreds to thousands of acres.
How much does it cost per plant?
Well, you can get them at different year, and it'll be like $2 to $4 depending on the size of the plant you get. I want to say back then we got them for $2 or maybe even a little less a piece in this first field. As we go across the farm, we'll see some other fields where we planted different varieties at different sizes and stages. I want to say once we got more of the hang of it, but it's 10 years in, we still don't really have the hang of it. Still learning.
How many plants are in this field?
This field is going to be 3,600 plants, minus give or take from the ones that died.
How many blueberries can come off of one plant?
Full maturity, we would like to see 8 to 10 pounds per plant. Some of a plant like this size here, we're probably getting something like 4 to 6 or 7 pounds off of it. Some of our larger plants in the back, we probably do get almost 10 pounds a plant. It depends on the variety and stage of the plant. These plants can take 3 to 4 years to get to where you're first picking them, and probably 4 to 7 years to full maturity. As we are so far north in Michigan, we do deal with winter damage every year, which is kind of what has stopped our plants from getting as large as some of the bigger, better blueberry farms down. So these are the lugs that the blueberries, the guys picking, load the buckets they're picking into the lugs, and they have numbers on them. We have a lot of guys out there that are picking per pound, and so we use the numbers on the lugs to keep track of which guy picked how much at the end of the day. So this is the walk-in cooler. We keep it around 34 degrees, 34, 35. This is how we sell to the grocery stores, 12 pint cases.
How much does a cooler like this cost?
We put this together ourselves. So we got these walls from Sam's when they were done with them, and we put them together, and then we got the condenser unit for 5,000 bucks. So we were probably all in this cooler for probably less than 10 grand.
How many employees do you have?
It can vary. If we're including all the pickers, you know, some days we have 20 plus guys out here picking, but running the show on a daily basis when we're not harvesting, it's just me and 2 guys, and that's it. So not very many.
How often do the plants have to be watered?
These plants, it doesn't rain up here when you want it to rain. So since May, these plants are on a 24-hour watering cycle. We have 6 zones, and it goes through 6 zones, and then as soon as it's done with the last one, it comes back to the first. So it's watering all day. 10:50. So right now the last zone in the back is getting its last bit of water, and then it'll shut off for just 1 hour and then recycle back to here.
Are you paying a lot for water?
We have our own well, so the water itself, no, but the pump and the electricity to run that pump 24 hours a day, yeah, it's not cheap.
Do you only do U-Pick, or do you do commercial as well?
So I mentioned earlier, we never really had plans for U-Pick, but as the 5th, 6th year of being out here approached, I realized that being in Traverse City, a heavily touristed area, it was probably the right move. And when we first started, it was very casual. We just kind of like advertised the best we could, low budget, got people out here. And eventually now it's turned into the U-Pick is probably, I guess, the bigger side of our business, but as well, we do package in our own pinted containers and sell those in 12 pint cases to grocery stores. And we also sell wholesale. So people will buy, I have people that buy 100 pounds and I have people that buy 2,000 pounds. So we do wholesale, package into the store, and a U-Pick.
Do you ever freeze your blueberries?
No, we only deal in the fresh market as far as blueberries. To reference the bigger farmers downstate again, those guys do it all. So they have certain types of blueberry varieties that they use pretty much for process only with a machine harvester. They'll come through, machine harvest those, get those to a process market, and then get some other types and varieties of berries to a fresh market, which is what you would buy and eat in the grocery store.
Can you tell us a little bit about the U-Pick process?
So yeah, we have just a little store that we finished out, and you come, you get a bucket, you come pick as much as you'd like, and this year it's $3 a pound. It varies based on the market for the price.
Roughly, how many people U-Pick a year?
Probably 10,000 people.
What percent do you think is U-Pick versus commercial versus wholesale?
I would say U-Pick is 50%, wholesale and commercial probably splits the other 50%.
What are your plans for expanding or growing in the future?
You know, that's something we talk about and think about all the time. I don't have a solid plan. We have this blueberry field here. We have 2 rows at the end of this blueberry field of Saskatoons. Saskatoons used to be, until last year, was 20 or 25 rows, 2 acres of Saskatoons. And you know, I gave them a chance for a while, and though there is a market for them, it was something that I just never learned to really make profit on. And so after giving it a good run, I pulled them out last year. We have 2 rows left, as I mentioned, and now there's an empty field, and I do plan on adding some more strawberries, raspberries, and blackberries. That's not gonna be the biggest change or investment, so I'm still always looking for ways to push the business forward, and I'm not sure yet.
When you pull out the plants, do you sell them?
I didn't. I chopped them down with a brush hog, scraped them out, made a pile, and just worked the rest of them into the field. Maybe you could have, but the labor to get those 8-foot plants out of the ground one at a time wouldn't have made sense.
What do you do for your advertising?
When we first started the U-Pick, it was just like real casual, as I mentioned, and like we just kind of got people out here. But as we went forward, we worked with the media team here that helped us get our logo and get the initial footing for our business plan of marketing. And then from there, you know, what really took off was Google. And once I got my Google business profile and reviews, we all know that y'all seem around my age, my era, that we base everything off of Google reviews. So once I was able to get some 5 stars and my listing started moving more to the top when you search in the area, that's really what really changed things out here. And we went from doing, you know, 20 people in a day to 200 people. I honestly didn't have much belief in it. My dad pushed me to do the U-Pick part of it. And I thought we were a little bit too much off the road to get people here. But people love picking blueberries more than you would ever know.
A farm has to be off the road, right?
Yeah, but we have a big one right there on the main highway called Gallagher's, and they're a great place. That's where people are gonna stop first because it's off the main road. So we had to work a little harder, and we have a big sign we put up. And I think the sign, people kind of know, oh, the blueberries are back.
How much have you spent on your advertising?
You know what, I did it really low budget, and I did the Google stuff myself. Everything we've done out here has been low budget because we had to watch it as the blueberry plants matured to make sure that we were still finding a way to make a profit. I mean, when I was spending less than $2,000, and still am less than $2,000 a year on marketing, and I do the rest as myself the best I can. I'm sure I could do it better. Facebook has helped a lot, but a lot of it has been through Facebook and Google.
Do you do any marketing for your wholesale and commercial side?
I don't. That was more of a me literally going into grocery stores and telling these people, hey, I'm a local blueberry farmer. Here's my product. Are you interested? So that was more of just me going to the site and trying to get them to buy from me. So no, I don't do that. Word of mouth has worked for that because there's not, as I mentioned, not many blueberry farms this far north. I am one of the few up here, and I am the largest blueberry farm for at least 50 to 80 miles or maybe more. So even though we're not big, it's still the biggest around. So here in the front field, we have 6 different varieties. This was again our first planting, and it is Duke, Blue Ray, Blue Jay, Draper, Berkeley, Bonus. In the back, we have Jersey, Northland, Elliott, Blue Ray again, and Blue Crop. This is what we call Zone 2. This variety here is Jerseys. And as we can see, as we work across the field, these were planted 3 years after the front field was started, and they are much larger back here.
Why are they larger?
They're larger because I kind of knew what I was doing when we did it a little better. These are still green. You can find some blue ones on them, but these are a little bit later variety that probably will be ready here in about 7 to 10 days.
What is the full blueberry season?
We're usually start harvesting first, second week of July, depending on the year. This year was quite early. I think we picked our first blueberry on like July 5th or 6th, which was actually way early. So this is just one section here. We're usually doing a first picking, a second picking, and a third picking, which that's how, when you're hand picking, that's how you got to do it, right? Because if we don't pick this first little crop, then the one behind it, the berries won't be as big and plentiful. This one, as you can see, you can find right now we're probably 3 to 5% blue, and we'll probably usually get on them right when they're about 20, at least 20% blue. And that's the toughest time of the season because the guys can't pick enough an hour to get my price per pound down. So my price per pound when we're hand picking the first picking is terrible. And then we have to do it though to keep the fruit good for the second and third picking. And these, like I mentioned, the first picking, we're probably 7 to 10 days away before we get in here, and that's how it works pretty much with all the varieties.
How much do you think a plant is worth?
A larger plant like this, you know, so say we get 10 pounds, my price probably averages out to $3 a pound. So we probably on bigger plants can maybe pull $30 to $50 on a season. That's a guess. Again, I haven't really ran the analytics out here and done too much P&L statements and stuff. I have flown by the seat of my pants and just tried to hang on for the ride, really. If I could go back, I would have done the whole thing different. When I started, I was like, all right, we're gonna grow blueberries, we're gonna sell blueberries. And that was about 2013 once we kind of got going. Since then though, there's been some highly successful businesses around here that have kind of tapped more into the agro-tourism. You know, have not even just wineries, but really have a liquor license and a kitchen, a chef, good local foods. And that's probably a little bit more of the path I would have taken, because just doing it the way we're doing it, we're just ultimately growing and selling blueberries. And it's tough as a business owner to make a profit when you're depending on the northern Michigan weather. When you're at the mercy of rain, no rain, heat, cold at the wrong time, you can never really predict. And any farmer watching this, one, will probably think that guy's not a farmer, but two, will think, yeah, you don't get rich farming.
Is expanding into a kitchen something that you would think about doing?
I mean, yeah, I've thought about it a million times, but I don't see myself going that path simply because the way we set up the front. I would need to I have an idea of what I would have liked to do, but it's kind of too late because the way I place the buildings and just the foundation of the business, I think it'd be too much backpedaling. So I think as far as this investment goes, I will stay into just growing blueberries and advancing the business, possibly getting to some apples later. But other than that, no, I don't see me really chasing the agro-tourism at this property. Maybe it's something I do in the future in a different location. I would eventually probably get into something different while keeping this.
What do you do in the wintertime?
Golf. No, I'm from Texas. A lot of winters we go to Texas. We shut the business down since we're fresh market. So come end of October, we're done out here. We blow out the lines, get all the water out of all the pipes, do some things for the plants, and we're done. I do have a little small gig me and my wife run, but we can do all that work from home. We take the winter off and sometimes go to Texas, sometimes travel, sometimes sit here and freeze. So these are our Elliott variety. These are our latest variety out here. They are gonna be ripe last. Probably this year, I bet we'll start seeing some blue ones middle of August, and they'll go through the end of August. Sometimes they creep into September. This is one of our heavier producers out here. It's a tart berry, medium, large size berry. Pretty tart in profile, but a very good berry. All the blueberry guys are gonna have an early variety, early mid, late, and late. That way you stretch it across the season and you're not crammed trying to pick them all at once, and you can have the berries as the market progresses through the season. This is one of our larger, I guess, irrigating blocks. So as you can see here, there's a T which allows the pressure to stay up for the water. So water is going that way and water is going that way because it couldn't have enough pressure to maintain the whole line. These are damn near 1,000-foot rows. With our spacing out here is every 3 feet. So I think that's kind of a generic spacing when you're doing a blueberry farm. 10-foot wide rows, 10 to 12-foot wide rows, and 3 to 4 foot spacing. And we chose 3 foot.
Can you propagate your own plants?
Oh yeah. Yep, you kind of need a whole setup to do that. I mean, I could easily do like 100, but to do thousands, I just don't have the setup. They grow them in like these, I want to say they're like called hotbeds or something. I haven't dabbled into that. But yes, you can take clippings to make clones, or you can do soft tissue culture. I've even seen myself on YouTube and TikTok and stuff of people, you can take a blueberry itself and smash it and plant it and it'll grow a plant. That wouldn't be the most efficient way, but if you're just doing it at home. In the beginning stages of the farm, the Northland was was the biggest producer by far. And now some of these other ones have caught up. 30 to 40,000 pounds off that field. We probably harvest similar out here on the Northlands, but these berries, a smaller, I want to say softer berry. So even though their flavor is great, they don't have the shelf life that some of the other varieties have.
When people come out for U-Pick, do you tell them where to go?
We kind of just tell them where the best fruit is. So we don't make them go to a certain row and start there. We just tell them where the ripe berries are and we let them go where they want. I think some other places don't do it that way. They have them more sectioned into wherever they want them to pick. But we've always struggled getting all the fruit off the bush out here, so we kind of let people go where they want, and I think people like that. Now we're gonna go over to what I refer to as the baby field. That was our last planting in 2019, I think. So this is their 4th year. So they're still small, but we actually are harvesting them this year. So we'll take a look at that and you'll see how much smaller they are.
What % of blueberries are not harvested?
Last year, I think we probably left maybe 10 to 15% on the bush, just because we haven't found a way to get them all off that makes financial sense at this point due to expensive labor, lack of labor, and just being a small operation. We're in this weird situation to where we're not like small, like 3 to 5 acres, but we're not large, like hundreds of acres. So we have to find ways to make sure we're profitable and getting the fruit off and sold in a timely fashion. So this is our bees. At this point, I'm not even sure how many hives is there. It's probably around 100. So I work with a local farm called Sleeping Bear Farms, and they supply the hives. They do all of the honey work. They simply park their honeys here, or their honeybees here, because they thrive in this area on my land. So it's kind of a trade. I need the bees for pollination during flowering, and they have a place to park their bees. And I would let them park as many as they want here, because obviously bees on a fruit farm are highly beneficial. We're a big advocate for bees out here, and we do have in the little farm store, we don't do any of the processing of the honey or anything ourselves. They come and harvest it, and we sell their products in our store. So that's how the bee situation out here works. These are the same variety that I was speaking of over there, and these are the baby version. So these plants are 4 years old. As you can see, we're harvesting them this year. The first couple years after planting these bushes, we didn't harvest them. We come through during flower time and we pull all the flowers off, because we want the plants to focus on growing bigger, new growth, and not trying to put fruit out. These are 2 random rows that I kind of have, when we first planted that field up there, we had 1,000 extra plants that I had over ordered, and I hadn't had a field prep for them. So I just randomly put them over here the day of planting, and that is our organic experiment. So these plants are completely organic. There's weeds all over the place, but they do just fine. I think right now maybe 10 or 15 guys out there, and we handpick everything here. So this is what we're doing all day, every day. These guys probably are picking, we're on our first pick right now, so it's lighter. So they're probably picking 10 to 13 pounds an hour. Yeah, there's the lugs that's how we sell our wholesale berries.
What type of blueberries are these?
These are Northlands again. So these guys, like I said, this is our first picking, so they probably can get 10, 12 pounds an hour, but when we are heavy, thick into it, you can pick, these guys could probably pick anywhere from 15 to 20 pounds an hour, and that's what we want. So this is the little farm store. This is where people come to check in for the U-pick. You grab a bucket, you go pick. When you're done, we weigh it, we check you out. We put ice cream in here. A lot of families come out here, kids love ice cream. People love ice cream. It's Hudsonville ice cream, we don't make it ourselves. Here we're talking about the honey. This is the Sleeping Bear Farms honey. It's your regular honey berries, and then this is raw honey. We sell some more of their products too. We're currently out of them. This is syrup. The syrup, I don't know how much we got my neighbor on film that has the cattle next to me. His name is Jason. He's a guy that I've become great friends with since buying this property. He does all the maple syrup. It's made on, over there next to the blueberries, we I think own 16, 17 acres of woods, majority maple trees. He does all of this himself, and we have regular syrup, and then we have blueberry maple syrup, all from the blueberries here on the farm. We freeze some at the end of the season, and we infuse those directly into the maple syrup. No additives, nothing. And it is extremely good.
What is one piece of advice for other entrepreneurs?
Stick with it even when you think it's not gonna work and you're almost broke. I guess that's the biggest one for me, is there's many times of starting a business, especially farming, of doubt. Was this the right move? Is this gonna work? Am I gonna go broke? But I have an asset backed up investment here. So I always knew it would be a little bit safer than, say, starting a restaurant or something, to where you can really just go all the way in the hole, because worst come to worst, if it wouldn't have worked, I had the land in an appreciating area. Bulldog berries came from when I was like 20, 21, I got a bulldog puppy. His name was Rooney. Through my 20s and young adulthood, he is my best friend. He's the best dog you could ever ask for. And this logo is not just a random bulldog. It is actually made from an artist, completely Rooney's likeness. He was a white bulldog with one black patch on his eye. He was very popular amongst anyone that knew me. He is a very big part of my life. So that's why we went with Bulldog Berries, and that's where the logo comes from.